Alex Collier on Sightings on the Radio with Jeff Rense, Part 1-1998. Alex Collier on Sightings on the Radio with Jeff Rense. August 6, 1998, excerpts. Transcript by Leading Edge Research Group August 1998. J.R., Jeff Rense AC, Alex Collier. J.R., Alex Collier, a name you'll probably remember for quite a while after tonight's program. Many of you already know it. He has been an extraterrestrial contactee for over 30 years. He has been in contact with the human race from within the constellation of Andromeda. Alex's experience has been both telepathic and physical. His relationship with the Andromedans has been based on trust and friendship. His free will has never been violated, and his experience must not in any way be associated with the abduction phenomena. With that, let's say hello to Alex Collier, who's in the great state of Colorado. Hello, Alex. Are you there? AC, yes. How are you? JR, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for taking time to bring your message and your experience to our listeners. AC, thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. JR, the whole issue of labels is something that has constantly gone back and forth. We had contactee, then abductee, and we came up with the generic benign experiencers label. Now, we are back into the dichotomy of abductee and contactee. How do you deal with those labels? AC, well, I constantly try and correct people. My understanding of abductee is someone who is taken against their will. Things are done to them against their will, and essentially they are treated with a complete lack of respect, and then put back with the misery of trying to put all the pieces of their life and the experience together. My experiences are not like that. I have absolute free will to go or not to go. There are times I call them and we've been able to get together and I go with them and get lessons, or teaching, and sometimes wisdom. Or, I just want to be in their space. Then I am brought back, sometimes against my will. I have come to love them. JR, that is in stark contrast to what we deal with so often on this program, people who are apparently abductees who have said they have been taken against their will. It is a miserable experience. Many have claimed that it is essentially rape, both physical and emotional. Some never successfully reconstruct and carry on with their lives as before. There are apparently thousands who live with this kind of nightmare and don't have the strength to deal with it. They just live with it. So, what we are saying here is that the group you are involved with here is not the group doing the abductions. AC, no, they're not. The groups doing the abductions are all associated with and related to the star groups in Orion, who have a real problem with us evolving. JR, what's the problem? Why are they against our evolving to a better place, or are they our makers genetically and want to continue to control us to keep us down at the servitude level? AC, well, you hit a key thing there with makers genetically. Part of their genetics is in us. Because our particular solar system is on the outskirts of our galaxy, a lot of extraterrestrial groups came and went from our solar system. This is why we have so many ruins on moons and planets in our solar system. JR, which are becoming more apparent all the time. AC, oh, yes. NASA has been doing everything they can to cover up the fact. You are talking about extraterrestrials that do not have the same genetic structure that we have, that are accustomed to living in our linear time for periods of thousands of years at a stretch. You can do space travel then, especially when you live thousands of years and have perfected time travel and travel faster than light. There are many groups that have had that and are so advanced that we cannot even imagine it. Compared to these races, Star Trek is child's play. JR, how many groups are actively coming here now, to the best of your knowledge? AC, well, according to the Andromedans there are currently at least 191 races visiting, stationed here or flying through our solar system. In the last 25 years, 71 races have actually visited our planet. JR, it's a busy place out there, isn't it? AC, it is, and it's getting more and more crowded. You know, in the center of our galaxy is where most of the life here began or migrated to, and now it is getting so populated that it is moving further and further out into the stretches of our galaxy. Naturally, we are beginning to see more activity. What really started it was when we started blowing off nuclear weapons. JR, that was a real signal, according to my research and talking with many people, that was picked up all over the galaxy by many races. The word got out that we were making noise here, so to speak. AC, not only that, But nuclear weapons also have a multi-dimensional effect, and when you start triggering these kinds of events, you even draw more attention to yourself. We had no clue that this kind of testing would have this effect. Jr. It could be considered a little bit on the rude side. AC. Yes, but I think what concerned them even more was that they came here and saw a race that was involved in war and strife, and they found other extraterrestrials here that time traveled. They found out that this place was really screwed up. A lot of drama is going on here that we were absolutely not in control of, and that drew a lot of attention from a lot of different races, very mature races that have been in our position perhaps hundreds of thousands of years ago. Here, they see this race trying to evolve on this planet but being manipulated, not only from other extraterrestrial groups, but also religions that were manipulating the minds of people, and a lot of technology that we have and were given that we absolutely had no maturity to deal with. Jr. Are you suggesting that some of the evil of humankind is being inculcated into us by device and deception from other races? Are we not, on our own and by our own volition, capable of mass slaughter? What you are saying is that we are getting a little helping hand here. I mean, 55 years ago we just finishing killing about 40 million people in World War II. AC. Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying, according to the Andromedans. We have been manipulated. Yes, we have for the most part only been participants. But, according to them, there's not a single human being in a position of power and control on this planet, what we call our leaders, that is not a puppet for those that are controlling us from the moon and from underground. Jr. So, from your perspective, drawing a parallel might be done by looking at the United States Congress as being puppets mastered by corporate interests, and then we go to the top of the money chain and those moguls who sit aside the boardrooms and pull the strings, the grand puppeteers, in your opinion, are being puppeted by extraterrestrials. AC. Yes, sir. That is how it has been relayed to me. Jr. It's rather logical. Break. Jr. So, the ET cover-up has been designed at the very least to obscure the fact that there is a collusion at the highest level. Is that the reason? AC. Yes. But, in all fairness, our world governments didn't think they had much choice. For the most part they were suckered in. The problem goes even further back than that. If we could revisit Kamofsichan's works, he has made a significant contribution to putting some pieces of our history back together. The flood of Noah is believed to be something accomplished by the hand of God. The reality was that mankind, all of us, rebelled against tyrants that were persecuting our ancestors. They rebelled and started to build and create things. The extraterrestrials at the time, the stewards of the planet from Nibiru, saw this. They saw us evolving so quickly that they felt they had to do something. For some reason they saw us as becoming a threat. It really comes down to genetics, but we'll cover that. Anyway, they created the flood of Noah. What they did was they caused a pole shift, and this shift rose water and created storms and created rain. Their purpose was to literally drown our ancestors. Now, this is significant, really significant. Even those reading the Bible must consider why a God who is portrayed as a loving and forgiving God who created us in his image would want to drown everybody. Jr. That's a little bit of a problem, yes. AC. There's a double message there, and we could go on and on about that subject. But, anyway, some of those people survived. We are told by the Bible that only Noah and his family, and some animals, survived. That is absolutely not true. Some groups of people, or tribes, according to the Andromedans, were taken down to South America where they were hidden by those who cared about us, and there was another group that was hidden in caves in what we now know as the Grand Canyon. They survived these terrible floods and storms, and the attempted drowning of mankind. Jr. I have seen the early story about those amazing Grand Canyon caves, underground structures and so forth, that have been pretty well sequestered by the Smithsonian and other organizations since their original discovery about the turn of the century. AC. Yes. The rumor is that these caves housed over 30,000 people. Jr. That was in fact an ark by itself. AC. Yes, more or less. Jr. There is a newspaper story on my website about some remarkable caves and ruins found deep inside the walls of the Grand Canyon. There are parts of the Grand Canyon that are quite off limits for us today. I have a question here. Genetically, we have been manipulated so that we have access to about 10% of our potential mental acuity. Who did this and why, according to your knowledge base? AC. There were many groups that manipulated us. Primarily, there were groups that were associated with Orion. A lot of this keeps coming back to Orion. Jr. Reptilians and Greys. AC, yes, but there were also humans that were half human and half reptilian, and many species. They consider us a species as well. Primarily, Orion has been controlled or dictated to by a very large reptilian race known as the Chiakar, who were originally placed in a star system called Alpha Draconis, billions of years ago. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, because I want to stay focused on where we are today. Right now, we have a lot of problems to fix. Break, Jr. What I want to do now, Alex, is roll the clock back some 34 years to 1964. What were you doing back then? What kind of a kid were you? AC, very inquisitive. Before my mom passed away, I was always in trouble. I thought my name was, stop that. Basically, my grandparents used to have a cabin in the northern peninsula of Michigan, and we always called it Woodstock. It was Woodstock for a while. But, I was talked to my sister a few weeks ago and she told me that it is now called Watersmeet. It's in the Ottawa National Forest on the northern peninsula of Michigan. We used to go up there and spend quite a lot of time there. There was a big family picnic, and we were playing hide and seek. It was then that I was reintroduced to Moraine and Versailles. Jr. How did it happen? AC, we went off into the forest to hide, during this picnic. I hid in some very tall grass. The next thing I remembered is that it was about 9 o'clock at night. I actually remember coming back. I sat up and ran back to the picnic area several hundred years away. There were a lot of people there, including the Michigan State Police, looking for me. My mother was glad to see me, and wanted to know where I'd been. So, it was classic missing time. But what had happened to me was that I found myself on a table, and I haven't had a chance to really tell this story, because there are always interruptions. I looked up and there was a very tall man with light blue skin, looking at me, standing next to the table, and there was a very old-looking man whose skin had a blue tint but it was almost white. The tall blue man was Moraine, with whom I still have contact, and the elderly man was Versailles, who was considered to be a sage in his world. They became my friends. Jr. Why did they choose you? AC, well, I am not the only one. There are 3 others. They chose me because apparently on a soul level when they were here 62,000 years ago I was here with them. I was one of them. Something happened and I got left behind. I have been caught up in the Earth's reincarnational cycle all this time. Jr. Were you in a craft? AC, yes, and it was bigger on the inside than the outside. Jr. Well, we've heard of that before. AC, yes, it was remarkable. It was about 35 feet in diameter and about 12 or 15 feet high, on the outside, but once you were inside it had 3 levels and it was enormous. I was put on the table and given a physical. Moraine had this little device and pushed a button on it and all these monitors came out of the wall, they just manifested out of nowhere. On these monitors I could see data on my heartbeat, blood and everything. Holographic symbols. Then, they placed this little metallic caplet on my head. Moraine pointed to the wall again. Another screen came out and I was shown my past lives. Jr. That must have been mind-blowing. AC, it absolutely was mind-blowing, but I knew it was me, because I could almost anticipate the emotions that were going to occur next. Jr. Was there spoken language or telepathy? AC, telepathy, but Moraine has since learned to speak. Their entire race is telepathic, and their language is holographic. Jr. Were you calm? AC, I was totally at peace and fascinated. But, do you know how when you meet someone you know them? That's how it was with them from the very beginning. I absolutely knew them. They are a remarkable race. They're so healed. I pray every night that we could be like this, and have complete mutual respect for each other. Jr. Yes, we could do it. We have to stop arguing and judging. But, can we? AC, do we want to? Jr. We are being corrupted by so many other races that have been manipulating the money barons and the power brokers for centuries. The question is, do we have the choice? Society in this country is so hopelessly programmed and regimented now. We are being brought up to react to things, not so much to initiate thought. AC, we're stuck. Jr. We are in a very bad way. Break. Jr. Alright. You were shown your past lives. How many lives did you have in 62,000 years? AC, Not all of them were in physicality. Some of them I wasn't proud of at all. There were a lot of them. J.R., what did they tell you about getting out of this unpleasant treadmill? AC, consciousness is the key, and apparently this is one of the reasons why they and other races have chosen to begin contacting our races, so that we will be able to know and obtain the truth about who and what we are. But, before we go there, I just wanted to add something. I have a very strong accounting background, and there were several contacts back in 1985 where I was trying to teach them about our social structure here, what we do and why we do it. One of the questions that came up was one about money, which they refer to as paper with pictures on it. I must have spent 3 or 4 contacts trying to explain to Marani and Vasai's our concept of money. When it was all over with, I realized that they just didn't get it. Vasai looked at me and he said, "I do not understand why you have to pay to live on the planet you were born on." In truth, it doesn't make sense to me either. During the initial contact, Marani motioned for me to get up, and we walked toward the wall, and a door appeared where there wasn't one before. I remember turning around and looking into the room, and it was empty. There was no table, nothing. I immediately said to myself, where did the table go? Marani said that they created the table holographically for me because they wanted me to be comfortable. One of the things they said to me before I was brought back was that I should not feel abandoned, that everything will be okay. I had no idea why they said that, because it seemed out of context with the rest of the contact. This event occurred in August 1964. Now, in October 1964, we were going for a drive to pick apples, and a drunk driver hit our car and my mother was killed. Then, I knew what Marani had meant. There was a lot of turmoil in our lives for a while. I saw them one more time in December 1964, and then there were no contacts until age 14. There were several at age 14, then one contact at age 16, and then no contact whatsoever until 1985. The contacts were very sporadic and there was no pattern to them. J.R., you were taken on board a craft each time. AC, yes. Then, in 1985, when they came back, I was living on Malibu in the Santa Monica Mountains, in an area called Decker Canyon. That's when they started to come back, and it has been fairly consistent since then. That's when most of my teaching, what they were teaching me, really began. That will probably cover 3 or 4 books by the time it's all said and done. J.R., when did they first tell you where they were from and who they were? During that first contact. AC, yes, but I didn't really understand it. It wasn't until I was 14 and more mature that I understood exactly where they were and I could pinpoint the place. J.R., did you feel, somehow, that the Andromedan system was home? AC, yes. I liked them a lot. J.R., do they pass among us as humans? AC, no. There are others here that are doing that, but they can't. They are way too large. You would notice blue skin pretty quickly. J.R., why are they coming here? Are they only contacting a handful of people on the planet? AC, as far as I know, there are 3 other people. But, they are definitely going to be adding more. J.R., have you met the 3 other people? AC, no, I have not. We have been trying to find out where they are. I know that there is one in South America, possibly Brazil. There is one in Europe and one in Asia. I have asked the Andromedans who they are, but they won't tell me for security reasons. J.R., so, they are compartmentalizing their contacts? AC, yes. They would appear to be. J.R., out of all the groups here that they have talked to you about, has the situation ever been discussed where groups would rescue us from ourselves before we completely trash everything? Or, are they all going to sit back and pick up the pieces? AC, as far as beaming us up off the planet? No. They have never once said that. They think that would be very irresponsible because if we have not learned the lesson, no matter where they took us we would do it again. J.R., we have to go through the suffering and pain to figure it out. AC, to a degree. There are going to be some real growing pains. J.R., I think you're being very kind in your description. We haven't figured it out yet. AC, well, we have. But, as an example, we have had free energy for a long time. It has been invented and created. J.R., well, I agree. I have done programs on it. We know we are being held prisoner by big businesses and the petrochemical industry. If we had set out to design a vehicle for transportation that would kill, maim and destroy the environment, We couldn't have done much better than the mode we have chosen. AC, you're absolutely right. But, you know, the responsibility absolutely lies with us, because we the people are not managing our government or managing the corporations. We are allowing them to dictate to us who and what we are and what we are supposed to be. We were spinning around without any real direction. Jr., the average American, with all due respect, is a programmed person, practically a robot. They respond. They pay. They go to work. They are in total bondage. Those listening to this program are in truth seeking a better reality for themselves. That's very encouraging. I feel, frankly, and I would like to hear what your friends say, that control is so ruthlessly total and has been entrenched for so long that nothing short of a major cataclysm, whether it be political, social, financial or geological, is going to be what it takes. I don't think the system is salvageable in its current form. I see no historical precedent for enlightened people to go back and retool a governmental structure, because again the control is so insidiously total. It permeates every aspect of our lives from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to sleep. We are deluged with programmed material, and we respond as a society. Alex Collier is my guest. His book, again, is Defending Sacred Ground. A remarkable story tonight. We would ask you to consider it and see if it makes any sense to you. We will continue in just a few minutes. Break. Jr. Now, only 4 people to your knowledge have been contacted by the humans from the constellation of Andromeda. Why so few, Alex? Why you, and what is your role to be? AC, well, I have been asking that same question. I know that there are different groups and races from other parts of the galaxy contacting other humans here. At last count, there were 28 physical contactees that I have been able to confirm, although some people say there are a lot more. That is all I have been able to confirm. Jr., I want to make it clear that we are not talking about the apparent thousands of abductees. We are talking about contactees. AC, yes, sir. Jr., are these fully conscious experiences, or are they out-of-the-body experiences? How does it work? Give me an example of a typical meeting with the Andromedans. AC, when I was a kid, we established a protocol. I have this old song that was one of my favorites when I was little, an old Johnny Rivers tune. I asked them to play that whenever they were here. So, when I hear it, I know that they are around, and then I usually wait for some kind of a telepathic communication. It will either be telepathic, or they will guide me to a specific location where they will be waiting for me and I will have a physical contact. The Santa Monica Mountains was one of 2 places where they were comfortable actually getting out of their craft. The area that I am talking about up there was an area called Boney Ridge, on the Malibu-Ventura-Oxnard border. It's that huge range up above Point Mag. It is a place that has in it the ruins of an old ancient city that go back to the time of Lemuria, and a friend of mine by the name of Robert Stanley has done extensive work documenting that whole area. Jr., that's a real strange area. It's sort of out of the way, and a lot of people just drive past it on Route 101 on either side and look up there. Not many people go up there. I know what you mean. AC, the place is protected, and not a lot of people do get in there. It is certainly accessible by hiking. You will see things that absolutely have no business being there. It's a remarkable place. It's one of the things I really miss about California. Jr., take me with you in the car when you are driving up there. Do you see the craft? AC, not at first. We are usually talking while I am driving out there. Jr., how do they greet you? Do they say, "Hi, how are you, it's nice to see you"? AC, in the beginning, it's with a slight bow. Jr., like the Japanese do? AC, yes. Then I would bow, and Morini would extend his hand and we would shake hands. Jr., how does it feel? AC, they feel just like we do, except when he holds my hand all you can see is my wrist, because his hands are so big. Jr., how big are these fellows? AC, their average male height is anywhere from 7 to 9½ or 10 feet tall. There are some who are 12 feet tall. The females are generally 7 to 8 feet tall. They're huge. Morini is 7¾ feet high and about 450 pounds. A very large man. Jr., what do they wear? AC, they wear jumpsuits. That's all I have seen them in. Jr., a seamless suit. AC, it looks like it has been spray painted on. Jr., and the colors. AC, The only color that we would recognize in our reality is something that is a dark blue-green with a gold metallic aspect to it. A lot of their colors we don't even have here, so they're hard to explain. Jr. How long do the meetings last? AC. That depends. There is no real pattern. Sometimes they are 30 minutes. Sometimes they are 6 hours. Sometimes they can last several days. Jr. Are these real-time meetings, or are they accelerated time? AC. They are real-time, but they time travel a lot, so it's easy to go for 3 or 4 days and bring me back to a point in time where I have actually only been gone a few minutes. Jr. What do they say, Alex? Let's go for a ride. Do they say we have something to show you this time, or what? AC. Well, I will give you an example of my last contact. Essentially, Moraine just said he would like to present me with information tonight, and we walked toward a specific part of the craft as it would leave the atmosphere. Sometimes he would take me to a specific room that has a holographic projector. Now, as I said earlier, they use extensive technology using holographics. They have this camera that can literally take pictures then uses a crystalline cylinder instead of film. They can take a picture of you and your data is projected onto this cylinder. What they do is put this into a device. They can take a picture of you now, go back 15 years, and this picture contains your entire life history for the last 15 years. Then, what they do is take it apart and examine what you have been doing the last 15 years. They literally know everything about you, even the chain of thoughts that go through your head for 15 years. Now, they use the same technology to heal. For example, let's say you are currently suffering from a specific ailment, a deterioration of a specific part of your anatomy. They could put you on the table, take your picture now, go back in time and take a picture again when that particular organ was at its healthiest. They can take the part of your holograph out that reflects that diseased organ and replace that with a holograph from the past in the camera, and it will project back into your body, and within minutes your body will heal itself. Do you understand? They say that everything in this universe, which includes 12 dimensions, is nothing more than a holograph, that the universe is intent, send out and turn back on itself. That includes the menace. Jr. So, they are doing time travel organ regeneration. AC. Yes. Break. Jr. Okay, Alex. You are supposed to be doing something with this knowledge, or are you supposed to keep it to yourself? Have you gotten any direction? AC. No. They have been wanting me to speak, and I have been for 10 years, even though the groups have been very very small. I have procrastinated for almost 5 years before going public, simply because I wrestled with the fact that some people would think I am crazy. Jr. How did you overcome that? AC. I don't know that I have. I get a lot of flack, and I have had some security issues already. Jr. Have you been threatened? AC. Yes, sir, I have. Jr. I want to tell you that my audience is not that way. I have just the most remarkable people, and they're perfectly capable of making decisions. If they don't like the program, they will just turn it off. AC. Well, we have a lot of people on this planet who are. Jr. On the dark side. AC. They have a negative polarity and motivated by fear, greed and control. What these people don't understand is that this kind of vibration only disintegrates and destroys their own original intent, and in order to feed that type of energy, you have to control others. Eventually, the whole thing implodes, and we are heading in that direction very fast. Once evil has controlled everything, it has no choice but to feed on itself. Jr. Evil appears to have one hell of a hand on the wheel at the moment. AC. I want to tell you about a contact I had in Malibu. I was lying down on the grass, and there was no scheduled contact. Suddenly, a Moraine was standing next to me. He just looked at me and said, "We have become aware that a great majority of your races are unaware of philosophy and logic, and understanding and knowledge of their own soul. We observe many Terrans seeing and feeling what others have told them, or have spoken. Alex, has your race lost the self-awareness of its own discovery?" Then he left. He didn't even wait for an answer. I got so much stuff like that, you know. They are so profound. Jr. With respect to the multiplicity of beings visiting this planet, is there a consensus that humankind is headed irrevocably down the path to self-destruction? Everywhere you look, there are nuclear submarines, suitcase nukes, biological weapons and mass extinctions going on. Is there any optimism? What are you hearing from these folks? AC. None of this has been predetermined. I will say that there has been intervention, and that there will be more intervention. But, will they come down and save us? Not exactly. I know that there are negotiations and contingency plans being drawn up, but this is not a situation where they want to come in here and babysit. We have to make an effort, and if there is an effort made, we will get some help. Break AC. Let me read this. It was given to me in 1991 by Morani. I will make it very quick. He said, in your time and space the expression of fear will be a challenge to you all. For any of you to be in fear, you lack a clear understanding in most situations. We have observed that your world is at a most confused point in your history and evolvement. We understand your remarkable drive and commitment to being alive. We, however, are not in understanding of your need to create tools of death, expecting that they will keep all in a space of understanding and peace. We observe that you build, create and plan in a space of fear, not in a consciousness of love. Your defense positions and institutions that create and employ are always in a state of unraveling and disintegration. We share this because they drain you and your earth of energy, both spiritual and material. Fear always has to feed. Fear does not create itself. The fear we observe is difficult to understand. It depletes you of your focus on the original intent, and is very secretive energy. This is most saddening to see. How can you share understanding and love, when so many of you are withholding from self and each other? Please feel the words we as a race are trying to express to your race. One of your original intentions on creating your physical reality is the idea of creating and learning to manipulate and express yourselves and physicality using your consciousness. It is your consciousness that the isness has given you, and in fact all things that bear spirit. This is the gift that has been clouded by fear. This creation is completely irrational to whom all of you are. We have come to understand that withholding love only creates perpetual disintegration. We have discovered in your galaxy ruins of vast races achieving recognition that have ceased to exist. They destroyed themselves simply because they withheld love and drained the very life force out of their intent, and imploded and destroyed their self-creation. The first projection of fear is denial. Denial and fear result in the complete opposite of the reality it claims to be. Fear is based, from our perspective, on a misunderstanding of one's own worth and security. We have discussed this amongst ourselves about your race, and we have formed a perspective based on your history. Many of your religions have helped and hurt this process. Many of your world's beliefs have convinced many people that they are simple creatures of nature. Your science teaches that your physical form is a pool of chemicals thrown together by accident, so that you are all an accident. You fear a God whom a book says is a loving God, who will throw you into an abyss for making a mistake. Many on your world have come to understand that in your world, the idea of fear is your enemy. All of you struggle between the understanding and fear, reason and fear. This struggle is in no way predetermined, Alex. Our perception is that this struggle will either lead your world to peace and responsibility, or to extinction as a race. This would grieve us. Note, what he is talking about is the psychopathic dysfunctional, mutually assured destruction, political policy, and derivatives thereof. Note, this is the legacy of material Darwinism we are currently stuck with. J.R., how was this given to you? AC, physical. I wrote it down as has said it. J.R., how about intervention? You have pretty well laid out their view of it. It is free will. We still have a chance. But, assuming we don't exercise that free will appropriately and we do slide over toward the abyss. What about apparent intervention? There have been instances of countdown sequences being stopped, both here and in the Soviet Union. Do you have any other examples? AC, the frequency of the planet is being manipulated by technology of the advanced races. On November 4, 1996, Morani said, Alex, we have spoken to you in detail of your race's genetic transfers and reincarnation before. I will mention them again when necessary, because your path into happiness depends on being able to obtain the truth. Yes, we are aware of the situation on your planet, that your planet shows deviation off the right path in this sincerity period. If you would try to share this moment in your planet's evolution as a preparation for the investments which will be made in the very near future for your races. Since the removal of conditions identity technology, your evolution is going at a faster pace. We have had to raise the frequency of your planet to move change and enlightenment along. This also means the great test of tolerances will be caused by delusionary discriminations between your peoples. At the present moment, Your races are carrying in their DNA genetics the influences of 1,000 centuries, as you count rotations, for positive and negative aspects. Please understand we are trying to prepare your races for advanced maturity. At present moment, many transfers occur in your planet from many different cultures and planes. Each member of the races on and in your planet will naturally exhibit their own mentality. They do, and will, contradict your habitual cultures. But, please do not forget that we have told you about mental conflicts that cause each to go through tests of maturity. We determine your mentality through the impulse signals we receive from your race's chains of thought. Now, the selection of men or women in the situations that they transcend are much more difficult because their preparation of the future is in accordance with their levels of consciousness. There is no intercession. Whatever is created will manifest itself. Alex, you cannot help all your races. Each member of your races will feel their essence in the balancing of positive and negative if they have done it, and will be weighed in their own consciousness. Those who prepare and invest will be prepared for the evolution to another density. The continents of your planet are changing quickly. Jr. Now, they say that they have changed the vibratory frequency of the planet. AC, they are changing it. Jr. The Andromedans are doing it. AC, they are not the only ones. There are several groups that are working together. Jr. They would like to see us save the day. Jr. Email questions. We have request from Francis about the shape of the Andromedan's eyes. What color are they? AC. Well, their eyes change color, depending upon their mood. But, they are almond-shaped, with pupils just like we do, except that they change color. Break color. It's a pleasure to be listening to you tonight, and I can tell by the sound of your voice that you are absolutely truthful. The concept of withholding love has been very painful to me. My conception of the spiritual polarity that's happening seems to make it very hard to help people. My solution has to been withdraw and be more discriminating, to heal through the inner planes, rather than through the trenches. I would like to hear what you have to say about that. AC, well, I can only give you my own experience. You know, we are spiritual beings first. The essence, the energy, the intent that we draw on to animate our bodies comes from a higher plane. That is where we pull the energy from in the first place. Secondly, as far as holding love goes, God, I have made a lot of decisions earlier in my life where I have withheld love, and I struggled with trying to unconditionally give love without an attachment to it. That hasn't really worked a lot, either, because I found people just take advantage of me. So, what I have done is that I have come to the conclusion, just as you have, to be more selective about the people that are in my space. You know, the Native Americans have a great thing. They will live with somebody for 2 winters before they really adopt them into their family or tribe, because in close quarters you really get to know who somebody is. I have become a real observer. I make sure that what people say and what they do are the same thing. Jr. Becoming an active observer is different than withdrawing, because when you do put unconditional love on the line, tragically with the polarization and some of the other things people have talked about, you are going to get drained, whether you want to, or not, then you become ineffective. Some people are toxic, from one end of the spectrum to the other. Color. Is the reptilian brain area in humans a transceiver to the reptilian race so they can control us? AC, I know where you are going with this question. Let's just say that it has made us more susceptible to frequency control of our thoughts, and brainwashing. The truth is that when one race conquers another, and this is what some extraterrestrials have done, what they do is they come in and genetically alter the race with their genetics. It changes not only the frequency of the physicality of the race, but also of thought. The genetic manipulation has helped to give us the hemispheres we have now. Our original ancestors did not have the same brain structure. That is a result of the genetic manipulation. Jr. Here's an email from Stockholm, Sweden. The question is, if we have been DNA manipulated throughout our history, then you could say intervention has already occurred. Wouldn't that be a reason for them to make an open contact and heal their own interaction toward us? AC, yes, you're right. However, those that did the DNA manipulation are not the ones who are willing to come forward and heal us. It is other races that are coming forward that are trying to offer us an opportunity to survive because they feel that we have never truly had an opportunity to evolve on our own. We have been manipulated from the beginning. They would like us to at least have the opportunity to create and evolve on our own without being manipulated, because of the incredible genetics we have and the extreme emotions we have. According to the Andromedans, Our DNA is the sum total of 22 different races. Even though the 10 strands of DNA which our scientists call junk DNA exist, there's a sequence where these could be put back together. We would be incredible and see a physical shift within a generation. Because of the 22 different genetics that cause the potential vibration of the DNA to be at such a high frequency, we are literally able to travel, to time travel, and to literally create and manifest things out of thin air, if we could heal this part of our genetics. Jr., are we going to take the negative baggage along with us? Should we make the genetic quantum leap and get to a point where we could create things out of thin air? AC, yes. Apparently that's our future. It's not the end of the world, but it will be the end as we currently know ourselves. Jr., here's another email. Alex, are you saying that Earth is shifting into fourth density, and that people who do not adjust their will, attention and orientation to service to the source, in contrast to service to self, will be obliged to reincarnate into realms where third density is operative? AC, it's a tricky question, but it's a great question. This is not in accordance with what has been explained to me. Here's what I have been told. I have been told by the Andromedans that there is a shift occurring in the entire universe, and that literally third density, what we know as third density, is beginning to implode, and that our planet and a specific amount of people, yet undetermined, will be moving through fourth into fifth density. According to the Andromedan perspective, fourth density is consciousness. Insofar as what we think, what we dream, we are already in fourth density. We're going to be moving through that into fifth, and that third density is going to implode. This is a natural progression that universes go through. How this happens precisely, you and I will find out together, but this is what they said. Jr., there's another part to this email question. Likewise, people who choose to move into fourth density, will they be able to remain with this planet? AC, if they so choose. But, it's all theory until it happens. I just want you to know, folks, that I am just reporting the news. Jr., are human souls/spirits reincarnated elsewhere other than the planet Earth? AC, my understanding is that specifically we reincarnate back on this planet until our individual frequency reaches a specific level of unconditional oneness, and then we have a choice to leave. But, I don't think that includes many people, because the planet is getting quite crowded. Break color. Hello Alex. I have been reading your work for a couple years now. I have a couple of questions. You mentioned that the Andromedans and others are changing the frequency of planet Earth. This is what they told you. Do you have any idea of the mechanism by which this could be done? AC, it's holographic technology. That's all I know about it. Since they are time travelers, I don't know if they've gone into the future and have taken a picture and brought that vibration back of who we are in the future in order to move us in that direction sooner, or what they've done. But, I suspect that is what they've done. They don't tell me everything. Color, you said that when you were on the ship, you had seen colors that we would not see here on their clothing, and that they have colors that we don't experience. Were you able to see those colors? AC, when I'm with them, yes I do. Whenever I am with them, I have to wear a type of belt when I go on board the craft, because they are of a higher frequency, or density, and my understanding is that we live in a space where the color spectrum encompasses 72 frequencies. Where they are it's 223 frequencies. Color, and this belt that you wear, does it change your vibrational frequency? AC, yes, but at the same time it keeps my molecules together so that my physicality does not dissolve. Color, so the construction of your eye changes so that you can perceive those wavelengths? AC, yes. It has also helped me when I come back here. Jr., there is a residual after effect? AC, yes, there is. Jr., how does it affect you? AC, I see a lot of things around a lot of people. Jr., auras and beyond? AC, yes. Jr., can you read people? AC, I'm pretty good at it. That's why my circle of friends is so small. Caller, will you be in the Seattle area? AC, maybe by the end of the year. It will be on the web page. Jr., let's give that web page address, Alex. AC, okay, it's www.trufax.org/caller/androme2.html, or you can just go to www.trufax.org and look up the Andromedan paradigm. Jr., Trufax is TRUFX. That's a very fascinating website. AC, It's expensive and the man who has created and put it together is Val Valerian. Jr., I've had Val on the show in the past, and he is due to come back at some point. AC, he's a fascinating guy. Jr., talk about somebody with a full mind. Just loaded. Jr., okay, next up is Ralph in Portland, Oregon. Caller, I wanted to ask about the proliferation of life in the universe, why the Earth is so important to other beings. Is it because life is quite rare? Or is it that other beings like to mess with lower life forms? AC, well, the norm has been the latter. It all depends on the particular species. But, no, to be honest with you, Ralph, life is prevalent everywhere. It's just that we are extremely unique because of all our genetics, and because we are a spirit as well, attached to it. They consider us royalty. We are the only race that has all these genetics locked up into our physicality. Jr., we are the Heinz 57 of the universe. Caller, this kind of leads to another question. Our spiritual or religious ideas about having a God, or creator. Is there any truth to any of those stories, and is there any one religion that most closely resembles reality as you know it? AC, no. When you say stories, are you referring to the Bible? Caller, most of the major religions acknowledge some sort of absolute creator. Even the Hindu or Buddhist acknowledge this. AC, the Andromedans acknowledge that there is something. They call it the isness, because something originally created the space and the levels of dimensions so that we could evolve into them. Caller, what about the beings that claim that they're incarnations of the God essence? AC, like who? Caller, well, like Jesus or Mohammed, or the Buddha. AC, those stories have been taken entirely out of context from the actual people who spoke those words. Many of those stories are fictitious. They are composite stories. They were stories that were created, basically, to create a religion. I once asked Vasai's what our future was as a race. This is the answer he gave to me: responsible freedom of self-determination, becoming truly self-confident and free to unconditionally be responsible for oneself, without being coerced to accept some higher authority. Jr., or, dominated by your fellow man. Caller, that's kind of the creed I like to go by. It's man's need to humanize the spiritual realm through which we create these stories. Jr., it's amazing how many religions deal with the fear factor to keep people in line. Alex touched on that earlier. Caller, there is a lot of talk about previous civilizations, people that built the pyramids, an ancient race. Is there anything along that line you were told about? AC, there have been many on this planet. For millions of years it was a way station, an outpost, for many races that were exploring the galaxy. They would come to this planet and gather the water to take with them. In many cases, they even left animal life here. That is why, if you look at our fossil record, most of the life that we have on this planet shows up fully formed. There is no in-between. That's because it was brought here. Jr., there have been many programs on that. Alex Collier is my guest, and we'll take our next break. Jr., this is from Derek in Oregon. He says, could you ask Alex to elaborate on the plasma beings that are making the crop formations? AC, I don't really know much about them. That's not information that they have been willing to share, other than to say that the crop circles involve fifth-dimensional geometry that contains an extensive amount of language and knowledge. They have said that the messages are not necessarily for us, but for those extraterrestrials who are in the planet. Jr., so, we're eavesdropping on those communications? AC, well, they were letting us see them. There are a lot of responsibilities concerned with awakening a planet as shut down as we are. How do you enlighten and encourage a planet to self-educate itself without making them think it's their own idea? Jr., without completely disrupting everything. As human beings, are we being left to swing in the wind? AC, no. Let me ask you something. The government creates a war. You have a choice to fire it, wear the uniform, etc. As far as the Andromedan perspective, they try and stress that we are still making decisions and that we have to be responsible for those decisions, even though other situations are being created which appear to be out of our control. Another example. Our government. By the people, for the people. We have not managed our government, and now we are close to completely losing the country, and everybody sits home and watches TV and does nothing. That's a choice. We still have the responsibility, even though we have been controlled and manipulated, we are still making decisions to go along with the program. Jr., here's another email question. Alex, ever since I heard you on the Art Bell show on July 21st, all I can think about is what you've said. I have done research on what you've said, and I now find it difficult to carry on with everyday tasks, because I am so absorbed with all these new ideas. Everything like going to work and paying bills seems trivial. What for? I ask. I am trying to cope with how making more money will enlighten my soul. How do you cope with the everyday stuff like this? AC, it is not easy. I battle with this every day. In fact, I'm in corporate America and I'm so thoroughly disgusted with the hypocrisy. None of it makes sense to me either, and I wish I had a genie hand and Aladdin's lamp and could change it all, but I don't. I'm stuck here trying to survive like everybody else. My frustration is having a completely different perspective, and trying to balance it. I have some good days and some not so good days. I keep striving to find the balance in all of it and try not to take it all so personally. It's difficult. Very difficult. Caller, hello. One of the callers was charging that religions were sort of an alien plot, and that they were responsible for all the destruction on the planet. I think you have to make a distinction between classical religion and other kinds of religion. Classical religions raised human culture to very beautiful and satisfying levels. Apocalyptic religion, of course, is a planet killer. It's just swept through various civilizations and destroyed them. Jr., a good example of religion's dark side is Pat Robertson's statement that anyone who believes in extraterrestrials should be stoned to death. That pretty much sums it up. Caller, my question is, do you think that apocalypse, which I don't see as either a divine or nature event, but as a construct, a rhetorical machine, is an alien plot, because it has done more to destroy human culture than anything else I can think of? AC, well, I have two thoughts on that. Maybe in the past, yes. Now, in the present time, I think the combined consciousness is enough to create that, and we could do it ourselves. They have led us to this place, through all these manipulations, and now we are in a position to literally take ourselves out. The question is, will we? Caller, it appears to me that we have people out there cranking up the apocalypse, working for aliens, interdimensional beings, or what? Jr., we also have the self-fulfilling prophecy. Caller, the Messiah effect. What you prophesy comes true, because this thing is front-loaded with the values which make the predictions come true. So, it's a construct, and it doesn't seem human. Historians have said that this drops in so unexpectedly. There's no cultural precedent for the apocalypse. It drops in about 1000 before Christ and it's inhuman. It's like a computer program. AC, the end of the world is not coming. The year 2000 is not the end of the world. We do go on. It's not our destiny. Break. Caller, what about the concept that an apocalypse is a way to get rid of the undesirable elements on the planet? Part of this is based on what Vance Davis, one of the Gulf Breeze 6, brought up, that the overall process is actually going to take place over the next 1,000 years through an advanced development of the human species. Jr., maybe another way to phrase this is, since evil has such a stranglehold, is there another way, other than to fight evil, just to get to a better place? AC, let me just say that basically evil does not have absolute reign here any longer. Intervention has been occurring all the time, even though we don't see it on a physical level. As far as the idea of 1,000 years, I am told that between now and the year 2013 we are going to see absolutely incredible changes in our own humanity, and that the entire process has been sped up. Caller, the species itself? AC, the species, the vibration. We are going to be making this leap by 2013. Exactly how many people are going to be on the planet, I don't know. The last time I asked that question was 4 years ago, and at that time the answer was 450 million. Jr., 450 million out of 6 billion. AC, well, that was several years ago, but again it depends on consciousness. Caller, so, more or less this whole process was aimed at civilization's spiritual development. AC, to hold us back. It was meant to hold all of us back, the manipulation. Caller, what about the flyover that is going to happen in the next 6 months? AC, well, according to Morini, they were going to force the issue, and they are planning to do a daytime flyover around the world, sometime during the day when everybody would see it. Jr., that would force the issue, wouldn't it? AC, that would force the issue. Jr., do they have to clear this with anyone? AC, my understanding is that they are all contemplating it together. They all will share responsibility for what happens. I know that they are looking at many probable scenarios of what will happen. Jr., there is a great fear about the recognition and reality of an ET presence here. In the last 2 generations, we have seen our young people literally inundated with ET-related items. One wonders what their response will be. The Mexicans dealt with things flying over Mexico City by the thousands for the last 7 years. AC, most of the world is going to be pretty open to it. It's America that I'm worried about. The extreme religious folks who think these guys are the devil, and it's just not the case. Caller, you said that there will be a shift in the entire universe, and that we'll go through the 4th into the 5th. What happens to the animals during this time? All the flora and fauna. What happens to the other races who are living on or in the earth at that time? AC, well, I don't know about the other races. I know that there are some other races that are here, living inside the planet, that are being given a choice, some kind of an alternative, to leave the planet or stay with it. The regressive ETs that are here, many of them have tried to time travel out of here. Those portals are being shut down. They are not being allowed to escape. They are going to be held accountable for what they have done. That I can tell you. That is why so many races are here trying to help sort this out. As far as the plants and the animals are concerned, I am told that much of the extinction that is occurring involves a situation where they are already moving to that place, that what we know as Earth and the 5th density is already there, a space has already been created for them. They are transitioning to that place. That is what extinction means. It means that they are no longer present here as an intent. They have moved to another space. Jr., do animals have souls, Alex? AC, yes, mostly everything has spirit. But, no, everything has spirit. There are certain extraterrestrial races that have the ability to clone and create life forms that spirit will not attach to. Essentially, they are robots of a sort. They are run by organic microprocessors, and they are basically like walking, talking computers, clones. They don't have spirit. Jr., as corny as this may sound, let your friends know they are welcome on this program. If they are speaking through you, they are welcome to continue to do that. AC, I will certainly pass your message on. Jr., for all of our listeners who agree or disagree with you tonight, I think you made a very eloquent presentation. Certainly something very logical and pragmatic to consider for all people around the world. Jr., one last email question. Alex, could you talk about the greys that are here bagging and tagging humans, who are being claimed as property by the race from Nibiru? I am an abduction experiencer with a triangular mark from my abduction by the Greys last February. AC, well, what they are doing is implanting people in order to track genetic lineage. They are tagging them with implants for a future scenario which may or may not occur. I hope it doesn't occur. This is where they would take these people off planet because they are of a specific genetic lineage that certain extraterrestrials believe they have the right to own. Prejudice is an extraterrestrial perspective. We were taught this behavior a long time ago. Jr., thank you, Alex. We will get you back on here in a couple weeks.